Hi, I'm Ernie Zohr, and this is Puritas Spring Software's 47th Frequently Asked Question video. It deals with how to handle multiple accountings. In this video, I'm using Basic Ohio Probate Forms version 8. However, the technique I'm going to show you also works with Cuyahoga County Probate Forms, Franklin County Probate Forms, Hamilton County Probate Forms, Ohio Guardianship Forms, and maybe a few others that I can't think of right now. Anyway, let's get started. I've got Basic Ohio Probate Forms up on the screen right now, and we're looking at the General Information Worksheet. To save a lot of time, I've created a file that represents a probate file in which, let's imagine that the first accounting has just been filed. Actually, the test file, which you're looking at right now, is distributed with the app when you install it. So if you wanted to, you should be able to find it in your default folder if it hasn't been deleted. Let's take a look at Form 13.0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the second page where you see the recapitulation of receipts and disbursements. You can see the receipts, $1.6 million looks like. The disbursements, $600,000. And assets remaining in the hands of the fiduciary is just a little over $1 million. The situation is that I just filed the initial accounting with the court, and the file you're looking at is the one I used to print the accounting that I filed. Because there are assets remaining in the hands of the fiduciary, it's obvious that I'll be filing a later partial or final accounting sometime in the future. So anyway, having just filed the first accounting, what's next? Should we start a new file? The answer is no way. There's too much information that would need to be retyped. Everything that you saw before on the General Information Worksheet, for instance, all the assets that were not distributed in the first accounting, they have to be retyped in the Asset Worksheet. Therefore, starting a new file is out of the question. A better solution is to make a copy of the file and call it the Joe Smith 2 file. I'll show you. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to go to File, Save As, and of course this one is called Test, but I'll call it Test 2. Hit on the Save button. All right. Now we're in the Test 2 file. You can see that by looking up there on the title bar. And let's start by going to the Asset Worksheet. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to update this file so that we can begin with what eventually will be the second partial or the final accounting. We start, of course, as I just showed you, by opening the Asset Worksheet, and all we need to do now is to get rid of the assets that have already been distributed in the first accounting. Now, I've talked with a lot of offices. There's two ways that you can do that. One is by deleting those assets that were distributed. Let's take the Ford truck, for example. If that's already been distributed in the first accounting, I can just click on the Delete button, click on Yes, and it's gone. There is, however, another way to do it. That's my personal favorite, actually. But the other way to do it is, let's say that this Arabian horse named Diplomat, let's say that he was distributed in the first accounting. As an alternative to simply deleting it, I can just go to the Send To and uncheck it. As you see from Form 13.0, now it's not going to show up in the next accounting that I file. And that's the two ways that you can get rid of those. It's a matter of personal preference, I suppose, but I prefer deleting the asset so that the advantage is you're reducing the visual clutter. Probably when you do that, it's easier to work with the file. And, well, the advantage of simply unchecking the distributed assets is that they're there if you need to refer to them. However, because they're unchecked from Form 13, they're not impacting the accounting because they're not checked. Now, you could see how to, I don't have to show you how to delete assets. I'm sure everybody knows how to do that. You just saw me do it. And that's basically it as far as the asset worksheet. When you're done, what you should be left with is those assets which have not been distributed yet. And after that, I'm going to close the worksheet, and we're going to go to the expense worksheet. Now, it's the same technique, different worksheet. So again, what you're going to do is you're going to choose between deleting or simply unchecking items. And again, you're doing that from Form 13, which is, where is that? Okay, in the Send To box is right here. If Brinkley Water Company has already been paid, they're already accounted for, I uncheck it. Again, I could also click on the delete button and delete it if I wanted to get it the heck out of there, but either way. And, none of these other check boxes like inventory and things like that that may have been checked, they don't really matter because those assets and expenses have already, well, I guess in the case of the asset worksheet, those assets have already been included in the inventory. You're not going to need them for anything except Form 13. And with the expense worksheet, the same thing is true, except that normally with the expenses, if it's in the expense worksheet, chances are probably 10 out of 10 that it has already been accounted for. And therefore, with the exception of bills that have not been paid during the first accounting, you could delete them, or no, I guess there, you know what? I'm mistaken. I thought there was a clear, what I'm thinking is that if you had 100 canceled checks that you needed to delete, you'd have to delete them one by one. For some reason, I guess I'm confused with other programs. There was a clear worksheet button, and that would let you delete all of them at the same time. So, unfortunately, that's not there. But if you're using, I'm pretty sure it's there in the other ones like Franklin County and Cuyahoga County. So if it's there, use it. That way you don't have to delete 200 checks that have already been accounted for in the first accounting. Is there anything you'd like to leave in the expense worksheet? Possibly recurring bills, like maybe a utility bill that you're going to do once a month, and that way you don't have to keep retyping it. You can just copy and paste using these row commands up here where you copy a row and then paste it in a new place, and so you can do things like that. But, that's really it. At this point, you've got the number 2 file ready to handle the second accounting period, and that's the file you're going to be using from now on. You will not use, after you file the first accounting, you're not going to use that accounting file ever again. You may look at it for reference, but you're not going to work in it. If you start working in it, you're going to be out of sync with the real number 2 file, and in addition, you will have ruined the pristine condition of the first file. So you don't want to do that. So that number 1 file is only to consult, but never to work in. And that's it. I'm not going to get into the actual mathematics of trying to balance the accounting, and a couple times a year I get a question just about that same thing, about getting the account to balance. This video isn't about balancing your accounting. It's showing you a technique for getting multiple accountings together. You're supposed to know how to make the account balance, and so it's just about giving you a tool to do the job. Sometimes I'm asked why the program doesn't know how to complete Form 13 on its own. And at first you might think, well, yeah, it should. That's a reasonable request. However, what you have to keep in mind is that the program doesn't know if this is the first or the 10th partial accounting. Therefore, it can't make assumptions about what assets are still in the worksheet and whether they're remaining in the hands of the fiduciary or not. So that's why you have to do that part of it. And it's a small part of it, but it's something that you've got to do. And this brings another video to its conclusion. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you saw something useful in it. And I want to thank you for taking the time to watch it. I appreciate it. And until next time, stay healthy and happy. I sincerely wish you all the best.